The dust of Gaza City hangs heavy in the air, a curtain of ash and memory that refuses to lift. The camera moves slowly across the Zeitoun neighborhood, a landscape of collapsed walls and silent streets. Red Cross vehicles, marked by the familiar emblem of neutrality, crawl through the wreckage. Like cautious lifelines, their engines hum over broken concrete and twisted metal. Behind them, trucks bearing the Egyptian flag carry heavy machinery, cranes, bulldozers and armoured diggers, symbols of an effort that is both humanitarian and deeply political since the US brokered ceasefire took effect. The city has shifted from bombardment to recovery. In those first fragile hours of quiet, Hamas freed the last of the 20 living hostages. The remains of 24 others were returned under Red Cross supervision, their names now part of the growing registry of those lost to this conflict. 4 more bodies are still unaccounted for, and the search for them has become a mission of both duty and symbolism. Through the shattered avenues, masked Hamas militants watch over the convoys. Their presence is both a reminder and a warning. Gaza is at peace, but not unarmed. The Red Cross teams, trained to operate in war zones, proceed with discipline, their white vehicles crossing through roads that look more like scars than infrastructure. Each movement is deliberate, each turn of the wheel a calculation between safety and speed. For residents of Zeitoun, this is not the first time they've seen such scenes. But today feels different. The silence is not the uneasy calm before a strike. It is the slow rhythm of a city trying to breathe again. Children stand at the edges of rubble mounds, their faces streaked with dust, watching the vehicles move as if witnessing something sacred, the return of order, however temporary. The Red Cross has confirmed that this operation, one of the largest since the ceasefire, aims to open key roads for humanitarian access. The plan is to clear the corridors linking Gaza City's eastern neighbourhoods with the coastal highway, a route critical for the transport of food, medicine and fuel. Much of this coordination has come from meetings held in Cairo and Doha, where Qatari and Egyptian negotiators continue to push for mechanisms that would make the truce sustainable. Inside one of the Red Cross vehicles, the voices of field workers echo over the radio reports of collapsed tunnels, blocked intersections, unexploded ordnance. The work ahead will take weeks, maybe months. But progress is measured here in meters, not miles. Each cleared street, a small victory. One of the trucks carries a bulldozer with an Egyptian flag fluttering above it, its metal gleaming faintly under the grey light. It's more than just a piece of machinery. It's a signal of cooperation between Cairo and the international community, a joint statement written in dust and diesel. Egypt's engineers have been stationed just beyond Rafah, coordinating with Hamas's civil committees and UN relief teams to manage the influx of aid. In the heart of Gaza, even aid has politics. Every crate that enters, every convoy that passes represents delicate diplomacy, balancing humanitarian needs with the complex choreography of ceasefire enforcement. For the International Committee of the Red Cross, neutrality is not just a principle but a constant test. They move between armed factions and foreign mediators, between families searching for missing loved ones and governments negotiating security guarantees. Alongside a convoy, massed Hamas fighters stand guard. Some carry rifles slung low. Others simply watch. Their presence in these images tells its own story. The war has paused, but the front lines have not vanished. These men once fought on the very streets they now patrol for the passage of aid. Their faces, partly hidden, show neither triumph nor defeat, only the fatigue of those who have survived too long in cycles of war and reprieve. The Red Cross insists its mission remains purely humanitarian. A spokesperson recently told reporters that their operations aim to provide immediate relief and restore civilian movement, regardless of political developments. Yet in Gaza, nothing is ever truly separate from politics. The reconstruction effort unfolds alongside talks about prisoner exchanges, buffer zones and security guarantees for Israel's border. As the convoy moves deeper into Zeitoun, Cameras capture the rhythm of recovery, bulldozers pushing debris into neat piles, trucks ferrying concrete slabs away, aid workers stepping over twisted rebar. The landscape looks unrecognizable, yet somehow familiar, a loop that Gaza has lived through too many times. International agencies estimate that more than 60% of Gaza City's infrastructure has been damaged or destroyed. Schools that once served as shelters now stand roofless. Hospitals operate with intermittent power. But amid this, the reopening of certain roads represents something larger, the first physical manifestation of hope for families who've spent weeks without clean water or reliable supplies. Seeing the Red Cross emblem return to their streets is a reassurance that the world has not completely turned away. Behind every vehicle, the dust rises in slow spirals, fading into the horizon, where new cranes and makeshift tents mark the line between destruction and rebuilding. Aid workers say that restoring basic access could allow humanitarian convoys to reach nearly 400,000 people who've been cut off since the escalation began. The Egyptian equipment in particular will help clear the eastern sectors, an area once inaccessible due to constant airstrikes.
The work continues under constant risk. Even in ceasefire, the sound of distant drones hums above the city. Explosive ordnance teams walk ahead of the convoys, scanning for remnants of war that still lie buried
under sand and concrete. The Red Cross personnel are trained for this, their movements methodical, their silence heavy with awareness of what each step could uncover. In the coming days, similar operations are expected to expand toward the Shuja'iyya district and the main arteries leading to the Spit north. UN logistics officials are preparing to deploy mobile water purification units, while the World Health Organization coordinates with Gaza's health ministry to reopen at least 2 field hospitals. All of this, however, depends on one fragile assumption that the ceasefire holds. In political terms, the deal remains a balancing act. Washington has framed it as a test of sustained de-escalation, while Egypt and Qatar continue to mediate the finer points of post-war arrangements, including the gradual return of displaced residents. Israel has so far refrained from ground operations since the agreement, though its military maintains aerial surveillance and insists that security measures remain in place. For many Gazans, these developments exist in a strange duality relief mixed with suspicion. People welcome the aid, but fear the calm might be temporary. Every engine sound, every drone shadow carries the memory of what came before. Still, for the families gathered at the edges of Zeitoun, the sight of Red Cross vehicles moving freely through their streets feels almost miraculous. Humanitarian workers describe the current moment as a fragile window. One miscalculation, one act of violence could collapse it. Yet, within this window, the international community is racing to establish permanent mechanisms, safe zones, aid corridors, joint monitoring teams. Discussions are underway to deploy multinational engineers, possibly under UN supervision, to help rebuild key infrastructure, including sewage systems, desalination plants, and electricity grids. But even as these efforts unfold, the human cost continues to cast a long shadow. The 24 hostages whose bodies were returned represent not just numbers, but narratives, each with families who waited, feared, and mourned. The Red Cross has played a central role in these recoveries, ensuring that remains are returned with dignity. The organization's statement last night reiterated its commitment: humanity must not be conditional. As night falls over Gaza City, the convoy's headlights carve narrow beams through the dust. The hum of engines fades into the distance, replaced by the faint clatter of construction tools. For the first time in months, residents hear the sound of rebuilding, the slow, steady rhythm of life returning. In the words of one local engineer coordinating the effort, "We are not rebuilding walls, we are rebuilding possibility." His words capture what this operation has come to mean, not just for Gaza, but for a world still divided between compassion and caution. For now, the Red Cross continues its rounds. More convoys are expected tomorrow. More debris will be moved. And somewhere under the weight of dust and history, Gaza waits for the moment when movement no longer needs to be escorted and the sound of engines no longer feels like a reminder of war, but a promise of recovery.